We all know where the first order of business to go is, right? We saw the Philadelphia Eagles get stomped. That was an ass kicking by the San Francisco 49ers. We can point to the 200-plus yards that Brock Purdy threw and the fact that he's elevated and ascended to being the leading candidate for league MVP honors. We can talk about Christian McCaffrey yet again having a touchdown. We can talk about Deebo Samuels and how unbeatable the San Francisco 49ers look whenever he's in the lineup. Had 3 touchdowns yesterday, by the way. We can point to a defense that pretty much shut the Philadelphia Eagles down while the offense was en route to scoring on 6 straight possessions after starting off slow in the first quarter. The Philadelphia Eagles couldn't do anything to answer that call. And what feeling should you walk away with in the aftermath of a loss like this? I'm going to tell you what that feeling is. I don't say it to you plain and simple. A lot of people don't want to admit this. I'm just looking around because I've got to duck for cover when I'm about to say, considering rather what I'm about to say, but here it is. Do you realize that the Philadelphia Eagles NFC Championship from last season was delegitimized Sunday afternoon? Oh, Stephen A., why would you say such a thing? Why would you say such a thing, Stephen A.? I'll tell you why I say such a thing. Because when a team shows up in an NFC Championship game looking lights out, and they lose not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 quarterbacks in one season. Remember, San Francisco last year lost Trey Lance, and then they lost Jimmy Garoppolo, and then Brock Purdy shows up in the NFC Championship game and gets his elbow damaged, and then after that, Josh Johnson comes in there and he gets hurt. It got to a point where Deebo Samuels and Christian McCaffrey were lining up behind center. They had no one to throw the football. And so as a result, you're the San Francisco 49ers. You know what you're thinking in your head? You know what you're thinking in your heart? We should have been there, not them. We're thinking they're fraudulent. We're thinking we're going to whip their ass when we see them. And what happened? The days leading up to the game, they chirped and talked smack to the Philadelphia Eagles. Nick Sirianni, the head coach for the Philadelphia Eagles, is showing footage of the San Francisco 49ers talking smack about his team. And the Eagles were supposed to be ready. But what happened? At the start of the game, before the game even started, when the San Francisco 49ers came out onto the football field, they marched right down the middle of the field, shoving Philadelphia Eagles players out of the way before the game started. They basically said, "We coming to kick your ass." So for them to actually turn around and do it, what do you say? What do you say? You know what you say? Not a damn word. Because that's what ass kickings do to you. It shuts you down. It humbles you. Humility kicks in. And all of a sudden, it forces you to reflect. What might have been in that last year's NFC Championship game? What could be in this year's playoffs? And if you're the San Francisco 49ers, why should you be taking a backseat to anybody? Your defense is elite. Your offense is potent. You got Brock Purdy looking like the second coming to Joe Montana. You got Deebo Samuels doing this thing. Ayuk is no joke. Christian McCaffrey's a stud. George Kittle is an elite tight end. And oh, by the way, Kyle Shanahan is arguably the elite play caller in all of football. At one point, again, San Francisco scored touchdowns on 6 straight possessions. Brock Purdy threw for 4 touchdowns, 314 yards, and 0 interceptions to be exact. And their defense held the Eagles to just 46 yards rushing. Swift and Gainwell and those boys combined for like 20 yards on 9 carries. It's a bad day for the Philadelphia Eagles, who, by the way, have to go up against the Dallas Cowboys next. And if Dallas wins that game, they're tied at 10-3 in the NFC East, and the Eagles will be in danger of losing the division crown, which means they'd have to go on the road come playoff time instead of being at home. And if you're the Dallas Cowboys, who's a different team on the road than they are at home, it's to your advantage. So all of a sudden, things have gotten very, very interesting in the NFC. But again, the salient point to walk away with is that in the end, we're not saying that the Eagles weren't an elite team. We're not saying they couldn't have won the Super Bowl. We're not saying that they didn't play lights out in the Super Bowl and Jalen Hurts would have been the MVP had they won. Patrick Mahomes' heroics had to come to and rescue the day. We get all of that. But in the end, before there was a Super Bowl, there was an NFC Championship game. And the Eagles' opponents was the San Francisco 49ers team that was literally without a quarterback. And so for San Francisco to have a quarterback and to face you for the very first time with the same personnel they would have had in last year's NFC Championship games and to stomp you the way that they did basically gives fodder to the notion that the NFC champions were delegitimized yesterday. Think about that.